Greetings once again. We are moving on to part 2 of 3 of our summative assignment of these rounded off logos here. So what we've got right here is another gig, another ad from Upwork this time. Instead of it being Fiverr, it's Upwork. I'm not sure where the first one came from, but I think I just copied and pasted. This is several years old once again, but I like this because it has what you'll find with a lot of these is a lot of vague buzzwords and a lot of sort of jargon as well. So, if you don't know what jargon is just sort of, language that's used within a specified kind of like profession or in like, maybe fandom or whatever that. So if you like, you think of people who talk sports, they say like, certain certain terms that get thrown around and that are understood by other sports players of whatever team they're playing for. This is very much a tech industry jargon buffet here. So I'll read through this and I'll explain a few things as best I can here. It says, I need a killer logo design for a blockchain SaaS startup in the biotech pharma world. So there's a lot to unpack right there. So obviously, the first off, our question is simply logo design. So the first thing right here, blockchain, and then SaaS stands for software as a service. Software as a service, right? So essentially what they're doing is offering some kind of blockchain service for the biotech pharma world. Okay, so biotech and pharma is important, certainly, right? But the biggest thing that they're going to be looking through is blockchain, because the name of their company is called Onyx Block with a Q, and their tagline is Tech Transfer Simplified, right? So let's figure out what they mean by blockchain. If you are aware of what blockchain is, fantastic. I am only marginally aware of what blockchain is, but I'm going to do my best to explain it in the simplest of terms. So I found this little thing here, right? So the most commonly used application of blockchain is with cryptocurrency or digital currency, namely Bitcoin. There's all kinds of different cryptocurrencies out there. But the idea with a blockchain is that if, say, for instance, I were to take for instance these files that you guys create. So I have, for instance, this pond logo that someone made, right? Someone made this pond logo. Maybe I did. I'm not sure. Someone made this. But the idea is that like I could send this to someone, right? And I could transfer this file over to somebody else, and that file would be in their possession, but it would be a copy. And once that copy has been transferred, it would be easy enough for some people to understand where it came from, but there would be methods of, say for instance, faking where it came from by changing the metadata. If you knew how to do all that, right? If you knew how to change all this info down here as far as when it was created and all that other stuff, you could easily fake where this came from and make it seem as if the copy that you have was the original copy, and the copy that someone sent to you was, you couldn't tell. Blockchain tries to avoid that. The idea with currency is that, once you have like a dollar, that the number of dollars is determined by the central bank. In this case, it's not determined by a central bank. It's determined by a series of checks and a series of complex mathematical formula that are sort of dispersed across thousands, maybe millions of people's computers and stuff. So the idea is that you have a Bitcoin. You have, like, say for instance, I don't know, $1.50 in Bitcoin, and you want to buy a pack of gum. You would just simply click a few buttons, send your Bitcoin over, and then it would stamp it with a little block at the end of this chain indicating that it went from point A to point B, and that would allow it to be transferred but not copied, right? So someone requests a transaction, it's requested as a person-to-person network right here. They check all the different chains that are there, and then eventually this so complex series of mathematics kind of goes through, and then once it's verified, we have another little addition that says, hey, this $1.50, this Bitcoin here was transferred over to somebody else, and it has it is the same thing. It was transferred over, and there's no way to fake that this was the original copy, right? So the idea is it's meant to make it to where you can transfer something over without it copying, limiting the number that there's limiting the number that so someone can't just create their own dollar. Someone just can't like print off their own dollar, right? So that's basically how it's used with Bitcoin, with cryptocurrency. But the idea is, once again, that they're trying to create some sort of essentially internet security or file transfer security that would be mostly centered around the biotech and pharmaceutical world, right? So you can sort of imagine what that might do. Who knows? There's all kinds of data that needs to be transferred, and they want a reliable method of tracking where that data has been and where it's going. So that's essentially what this is, right? So that's what blockchain is. Think of it like a locker and the locker combination. So you can like slip papers into the locker and whatnot, but the blockchain allows you to, open that locker up and see what's inside of it and stuff. So the whole point is it's security, right? Okay, so that's just that. If that was a thing that made no sense to you, I would suggest that you look up a video that explains it better than I could just now, because that's not really my bag. But anyways, we've got what we need to include. We want to have our Onyx block and tech transfer simplified at some point in the logo here. And this is what they say. I'd like it to look captivating and memorable. Those two words don't mean anything, because they mean something different to everybody else, but that's what they said. Captivating and memorable, obviously, the good. I want people to remember the word onyx more so than block. So you can think in terms of like typography. If we were to say onyx block, you could conceivably maybe bold onyx and then like have block not be bold, or make it a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. That's a thing you could do. Or you could color it or something like that. That's a thing you could also do as well. The company name would be Onyx Block, but I think people would say Onyx more than Onyx Block. Again, another sentence that doesn't mean anything. All right, I want the name of the company to be clearly legible. Okay. As to the icon, I'm open, but looking for something cool, unique, and that works well with the company name and possibly by itself. Again, this really doesn't mean anything, right? So when you have these kinds of sort of the buzzwords like cool, unique. Again, the person doesn't quite know what it is that they want, right? So they're just putting things out there and just fishing and stuff. Want the logo to look good online, on business cards, T-shirts, etc. Okay, so basically, whenever someone says online. Online tends to have a series of like requirements and stuff. Business cards, a different thing. T-shirts, obviously, different thing. Especially when you're printing off T-shirts, you tend to want to limit the number of colors and stuff, and you definitely want to limit like the use of gradients, because it's difficult to print gradients. Usually, you want like 4 colors that can be layered, like screen printed and stuff. It's a software startup building a killer blockchain technology for B2B, that stands for business to business. So again, maybe a pharmacy is trading, their know-how to another pharmacy and stuff. I like modern designs, sophisticated looks, color schemes in blacks, white, grays, purples, oranges, no reds, yellows, greens. Okay, so this person right here indicates what colors they want. So blacks, white, purple, grays, blues, oranges. I would suggest like limiting this to maybe 3 of those colors. Obviously black can be used. Whites obviously can just refer to the negative space, and then grays, purple, blues, oranges, and stuff. No reds, yellows, or greens. Okay, there you go. So avoiding the primary colors besides blue. All right, so let's just sort of winnow this down. The things that you need to know at this point is that this is the name. It's a startup technology, with using blockchain, and it wants the logo to reflect the name, but at the same time be sort of memorable, I'm guessing, towards the purpose, the whole point and purpose here. So if you want to think in terms of like, okay, technology, pharmacy, a few things about this, the word onyx, is its own thing, I suppose. But the point is that you want to have some kind of like illustration in the middle there. It could be pretty simple, could be flat design, could be a cutout, could be any number of things there. Same deal as before. So once again, the same sort of requirements apply when you design your text. You want to have some of the text or all the text rounded as if it were on a circle or ellipse. There should be text on the top and the bottom, and the text should be centered, and we want to use a different font from the default, and we either surround the text with a stroke on either side or stamp the text out of a solid banner on the logo, and the logo can be either a silhouette that's been cut out or a flat design, but it should be reasonably associated with the order's request. So like I said before with the trolley with the face, in this case, blockchain, pharmacy, any number of things here. Just to real quick drive that home, this is what I mean when I say a stroke on either side, right? So you can have the text here, right? Stroke on either side. You want to make sure there's space between the words and the actual strokes here. You don't want it to be abutted up against the side edges there, and you want to make sure it's centered. So this one right here is not centered. So you want to make sure that's centered with it. This is an example of a curve on the top and straight on the bottom. And again, you don't want it to be like pushed in towards the thing there. And this is an idea of what we did before with like the flat on the top, curved on the bottom. All those things could work. Any number of these things could work right here with this logo here. So this is with it stamped out. Once again, you want space on the top and on the bottom. You don't want it to be pushed up against the side there. Maybe think in terms of you can use the internet as like your guide. You can maybe think in terms of what you want to put in the middle there. I wouldn't, obviously I'm not looking for a Matisse, but I'm looking for something that again shows that you have learned how to use the pen tool or the different shapes and whatnot, and so you can kind of like put that out there. So this don't sweat the technique. We'll sweat the technique. That's what we're testing over here. All right, so this is the second out of 3. This is going to combine with the first one and with the third one to form a summative assignment. So best of luck. If you get any questions, cannot wait to see what you guys produce.